Hey, this is Rick Kaselj from exercisesforinjuries.com. In this video, what I wanted to go through is 4 common suspension training exercises that can lead to injury and pain. I'm going to get Orsi to demonstrate all of them, and the first one is going to be the suspension training squat. So Orsi's, oftentimes we'll see this, people will end up grabbing the handles, they'll end up leaning back, and then they'll squat, but most of their weight will end up being on their toes, and their knees will end up passing their toes. I mean, they end up feeling the quad muscles working, but it puts a lot of stress and strain on the knees, leading to pain and potentially a full-blown injury. What they should be doing is leaning back, so the weight's back, weight's on their heels, they're squatting down like they're sitting into a chair, and then coming back into straight. Coming back down and coming back into straight, okay? And then, so it ends up being more of a glute hamstring exercise than an actual quad muscle exercise. Now, the second suspension training exercise that oftentimes ends up leading to injury and pain ends up being the suspension training rowing exercise. So a lot of times people will get in that angled position and they'll bring the elbows back, and they'll bring the elbows back too far and bring the chest forward and bring the head forward. Now, that elbows passing the body well past 45 puts a lot of stress and strain on the rotator cuff, AC joint, and shoulder. And also bringing that head forward adds to more stress and strain on that shoulder. So what you should be doing is rowing back and the elbows just past the shoulders and then come back. So you're nice and strong through the head, shoulders, and hips, and the elbows are just passing the shoulders, and you're strong in that upper body. And then you're hitting the right muscles. You're hitting those shoulder blade muscles, rhomboids, lat muscles, and you end up focusing on the muscles as opposed to putting unnecessary stress and strain on the shoulder joint, on the different joints within that shoulder. Now, the third exercise ends up being looking at the plank exercise. So we'll get Orsi to kind of move into the suspension training plank exercise. So there ends up being 2 things that oftentimes happens here, and it can be with the suspension trainer, it's too high up. So the individual is at too steep of a slope, and that steep of a slope ends up putting unnecessary stress on the shoulder, on that AC joint. So you want to make sure that that length allows you to go into a good plank position. So even with Orsi, I would probably move her down about 1 inch. And then the other negative thing is people end up arching through the back. So arching and putting unnecessary stress in the back. And you're supposed to be tight in that core, tight in the glutes, and right there. And be solid through that mid-back core glute area. Okay, I'll get you to relax for a second. So that ends up being the third exercise, that plank exercise. And it can be done from the forearms, or it can end up being done from the hands. Now, the fourth exercise ends up being the suspension trainer push-up. So it's very similar to the plank, is that people will end up not adjusting the straps to the right length. So they might end up being too low or too high, and that ends up affecting things. A lot of times people make them too short, and then people end up being at an angle, which ends up putting too much stress and strain on that shoulder and that collarbone joint. The second is that unnecessary arching in the back, so dropping the hips. So they'll drop those hips, and there ends up being too much arching in that low back. So you want to stay strong in that core, bring the hips up. Okay, good, and coming back down. So you want to be in that good plank position. You want to make sure that the suspension trainer is at a good length to allow you to be parallel to the floor. So there you go. When you're going through those 4 really common suspension training exercises, make sure you're making those modifications so that you're getting the benefit from the exercise and not setting yourself up for injury or pain. So this is Rick Kaselj from exercisesforinjuries.com. Make sure to swing by exercisesforinjuries.com, enter in your injury or pain. There's a good chance that I have a video, interview, or article that'll help you overcome your pain. Secondly, if you're watching this on YouTube, head up above, hit subscribe. What that'll do is every couple days you'll get a video like this where I talk about how to overcome injury and pain. Thirdly, head down below and hit like and leave me a question or comment. So this is Rick Kaselj from exercisesforinjuries.com saying take care and bye-bye.